Do I have to ask you to give them a round of applause? It's not that often we get this many brilliant minds in one session. So could I ask you, please, just to give us a super quick introduction? And, well, let's start with you, Ingmar. Just 15 seconds, who you are, why you're here.
So I joined the TV industry in 2013, having fun creating our own platform, being passionate about the topic, till then, and seeing what's going to be the next big story.
Sounds great. And congratulations again to you, Daniel.
Thank you. Well, as you know, I just joined to Deutsche Telekom a few weeks ago as a head of TV product for our European business. I have been in the TV business and the telco sector for more than 20 years. And, well, happy to be here.
Sounds great. Glad to have you. Jackie?
Hi, I'm on the TV platform partnerships team within Google, looking after our TV operators in a few markets within EMEA, so the UK, France, Spain, Benelux, and Africa.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm here, and I'm 11 years now at 3SS. I came to make entertainment simple and personal, but it's not yet done, so I'm still there. And right now I'm the lucky guy working with our design, product, and marketing teams to make it happen.
Thank you. And Marco?
Yeah, thank you, Thomas. This is Marco Fertolin. I've been working with pay TV operators and technology vendors since 2001, and I'm still there. Now I work for Viewed, where I manage our portfolio of products for operators.
Very good. Thank you very much. And with that in mind, let's try and dive into the topic with sort of a reflection of where we are today. So Ingmar, you have a preference for set-top boxes today.
I'm still convinced the set-top box is at the very core of being able to cater and provide a superior experience.
Yeah.
And when we talk about dongles or other approaches, what we tend to forget is we're serving a lean-back experience where people highly value convenience, and it starts with the remote control and not some knob.
And Daniel, that's a bit different from the approach from Deutsche Telekom.
Well, we think that the set-top box is key in our strategy because until now is the only way that we see to deliver the full experience to our customer. I used to say that we do set-top box because we have to do it. I mean, but we would love to be able to deliver the full experience of our services in other devices. But the reality is there are many restrictions and it's not possible. No?
Yeah. No, and Jackie, you've been quite successful in your interests with set-top boxes and the operator tier.
Yeah.
And now it's ATV as well, placed to support sort of operators that want to try something else?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we have over 200 operators now on the operator tier platform. And as you know, operator tier is a version of the Android OS that supports set-top boxes. And I think the reason it was so successful is because we had that mutual respect between understanding, the pay TV business and that, you know that business best. So we always worked on the emphasis of creating a platform, providing that to the operators, and then letting the operators build on top of that, with choice around the OEMs that they select, flexibility around custom launches, decisions around how the box is made and what technology goes into that, and then even control over search results in Assistant, for example. So I think there's been that, that's kind of led to the current success. But going forward, we do have many operators who are looking at a portfolio of devices now. So not just the set-top box, but maybe also OTT sticks, looking at smart TV OS relationships, on the connected TV app side of things that Thibaut mentioned earlier. So there is that sort of phenomenon going on, I guess, to an extent. And Android's OS is well placed to help support that, given the underlying platform.
And that's a good introduction to you, Marco, as well, because Viewed TV is the operator TV. Could you put some words to that, please.
Yes, right. I wanted to react to what you said, Daniel, that you would love to put your full experience on other devices. Well, I think the next device is going to be the TV. And this is what we are also doing in Viewed. We have launched Operator TV last year. And basically our vision is to enable more operators to do what Sky has done in-house. And I think it's going to happen. I mean, of course, we shouldn't make the mistake of seeing a slight decline on set-top boxes and exaggerating it to extinction. That is not going to happen. But there is a trend where the set-top box is still the most important device, but basically relatively less fundamental than it used to be. And the shift towards OTT technology allows operators to actually support their pay TV services natively in the smart TV. So they're not just one app, maybe very prominent, but still an app, but they own the complete UI of the TV. So this is an opportunity to give a better experience to the consumers, a high-quality product, which is, of course, great for the operator. And it also serves the need of optimizing costs, which is also, I mean, many operators have a business under pressure in terms of cost efficiency. And, of course, the TV can potentially be sold to end users, unlike the box, which some operators are able to sell boxes to end users, but not many. So we think it's really time for operators to start exploring the space of supporting pay TV services on the smart TV. And we are enabling that with, since we work with the pay TV industry on one side and the TV manufacturers since many years. We have this kind of unique point of view where we can enable the operators to support the full pay TV services on the smart TV, which will not make the set-top box like useless. It will be a coexistence of different ways to provide the full experience to the subscribers.
Good. And Pierre, how does all of this sort of work with the customer experience, as I know is very dearly to you, when you start to have multiple devices with different capabilities? And
I mean, listening now to a lot of people in the last 24 hours, you see that entertainment is more complex than ever before. And if you look at it from a business perspective, it's already, there's a lot of fight for content, for the platform, who owns it, who has more prominence, and so on. But what we sometimes forget is the customer actually trying to find something to watch. And I think he's losing right now, or she's losing right now. And what we are doing is we're trying to help right now 20 large operators worldwide to build their next-gen TV platforms and help them to scale their differentiated experience across any touch point. So it could be an operator-owned smart TV. We're very strong on Android TV operator tier to bring their own customized set-top box, including Netflix and all services into the market. But we also launched the same experience on Samsung, LG, Apple TV, mobile, web, every device where users spend time, because it's just about being able to be accessed. And what's getting more and more important is, of course, getting all these content aggregated. But the next step is how you're going to surface them so people have more of an interest-centric discovery, what they want to watch, rather than they have to choose a brand before they actually discover the content. So I think that's our challenge, and we're helping the operators mainly to go into that transformation. And that's a really fun job, I have to say.
yeah, and it sort of brings to mind that we're all here to serve the customers, and I guess that's part of the sort of key criteria for you guys as well. Daniel, you mentioned earlier that you're going to a OTT environment as soon as possible, and you want to have that. How do you see that sort of, what drove that decision?
Well, within that, there are many factors, okay? One is OTT is where we've seen that the industry is putting more effort in terms of innovation and new features, and we want to be able to catch up all this innovation as soon as possible for our customer. Another reason is because many of us, as an engineer, we have been working in traditional Linux boxes, and all of us know how complex in terms of technology is to doing a set-top box with a player with cable or with DTH, and the problem that we have with time to market whenever we need to do new releases. OTT allow us to simplify all the technology stack in our devices, and obviously at the end, this is directly improvement in the time to market.
Mm. Yeah, and time to market is, of course,
yes,
one of the key factors in this.
Yeah.
And how do you see that, Ingmar, with you've been quite good at sort of differentiating your solution from the competition in Switzerland, and having this sort of differentiation as quite key to your development. Is that a conflict with time to market?
Interesting frame of the question. Yes, it is in a conflict because, as I said in the earlier panel, you have to decide, make it your own or buy. Then, if you buy, is it a differentiator because your competitors in the same market can buy from the same vendor or build on the same platform? So it's really core to us to decide what is the story our customers adopt, believe in, and we constantly checking this also on the feature usage on the platform. Is that a feature still used, or can we phase it out? In that sense, it's storytelling.
Yeah.
And if not, it's a new feature which is highly appreciated.
Yeah, no, I think that's an interesting angle to this. And how do you see sort of this need for alignment across? Because putting a lot of investment in your set-top box, how do you make that live on your different applications that are there to support it?
So we learn on the set-top box, and then we decide if we port a feature to our clients, customer-driven, but also story-driven. If it is a new portfolio item, you cannot leave it out. You need to provide it to every consumption device. And also it comes at a cost. The lifecycle cost of bringing each new feature brings new resources bound to that feature. Yeah. So also start thinking about what you can kill after a certain point of time.
Yeah, start finishing.
Start finishing.
Yeah. And Pierre, just a question to you on this. How do you see the difference? And I'm not going to ask you to call out operators, but how do you see the difference between sort of an operator that's customer experience focused and some that's not? I assume you can see the difference.
Yeah, I mean, I think the topic of the panel is how to build the next generation of entertainment platform, and I think if you build a product for everyone, it's a product built for no one. Yeah? And some of the operators understand that better. So they build the platform so it allows the flexibility to target with the offering, with the experience. They are, I would say, rather older customer base with more classic pay TV, live TV offering, but also already transformed to the new OTT. People have lower entry price models and embrace also the new trends. And this is the big differentiator, I would say, between them, because they know already the existing customer base, but they're also trying to give the, let's say, new generation a place. And that has to be built into the platform, so you have the flexibility on the UI, but also on the business side to build these offerings to your customers. I think this is understanding the customer is one thing, but then also being very progressive on understanding the new customers that are growing up right now. This is the mindset difference I see.
Yeah, and Jackie, given the size and scale of your operations now, do you see a difference in engagement depending on sort of different applications or different set-top boxes or different environments? How do you see that sort of play out?
So many of our devices are our partners' devices. So, we don't know the level of we know the level of engagement in terms of actual usage of the device itself, but in terms of engagement within the custom launcher, for example, we don't have the visibility into that specifically. But yes, we are seeing much more adoption of on the dongle side of things now, as well as set-top boxes. There's a lot of cross-device functionality that is utilized. So through Cast, for example, enabling that interaction between devices. There's a lot of thought that's going into that in terms of innovation as well. So how can we continue to innovate and enable that cross-device collaboration that a user wants, especially as we move towards ambient computing. And a user won't necessarily need to know what technology is behind each particular device. It's going to be more about, making sure you're bringing the right content to them at the right time on the right device. You're enabling, quick functionality like things like fast pair of, your headphones with the device that you want to consume your content on. These types of ideas, I think, is something which is coming to the forefront a lot more, at least from our mindset. And yeah, going back to your question about types of devices that content's being consumed on, it's exactly that. I think people just need to have different types of devices within the household to enable what they want to do at that moment in time, whether it be a multi-room device, which might require a dongle, versus the main room in the house requiring their set-top box. But yeah, we see certain trends that are developing in that respect.
And do you see a similar trend in your environment, Ingmar, with the different level of engagement depending on the number of devices that people use? Or do you see a difference in NPS or Net Promoter Scores or anything?
What we saw is a real big growth in the adoption of companions. So once you had your content available on those companions, the adoption grew up to 25%. So every household who has a major TV product uses 25% of the consumption now, even on mobile, in devices, not in consumption hours. And it is a different usage, it is a different consumption, because on a mobile device you tend to do short-term consumption. You're not watching a 2-hour cinematic content on such a small device. But there is a need for it. There's also a need for differentiation. The main TV is blocked, so the kid's watching something else. And as long as you can cater this through the rights and through the technology, it's an advantage to the customer and highly appreciated.
Yeah, and content rights is usually an issue we discuss when we talk about bringing things to multiple devices or having different environments and different engagements. Do you experience, and maybe that's for you, Marco, do you experience that with operators you work with, or with them being challenged on content rights on a set-top box versus on a TV?
Well, the operator TV is still a new concept, right? So there isn't much experience around, but I think what really makes it, it is similar to the set-top box in the sense that it's a first screen experience, and it could be a replacement for the set-top box. But of course, it's a different technology. So in terms of content rights, I expect the operators still need to sign their own redistribution deals. Yeah. But of course, what is better on an operator TV than in a set-top box is that they can leverage the scale of a TV manufacturer to have all the major apps already pre-integrated, which is the case for some set-top box operating systems, but not all. While in the TV space, you can see more sort of standardized, or I would say normalized approach to app integration. Yeah. So which makes it easier to get them to be supported on the TV.
Yeah, and is there a way to sort of, and maybe this is back to you again, Pierre, do you start seeing a trend where people try to differentiate with the different devices, the capabilities that you have on, for instance, an iPad compared to a set-top box, maybe bring some second screen, companion screen implementations to you, or do you see that as part of the requests you get from operators today?
I think it's very hard to differentiate by just specific features, longer term, because it's technology is out there. Yes, you have to build it. We're building it. It takes time, but people can follow you. So you're not long exclusive. But what I see sometimes is that people come up with very interesting propositions, building, for example, their own soundbar, to bring that into the living room as an added value. And the soundbar is actually an HDMI set-top box, basically, just with added value, far field, and these kind of things. Or they try to differentiate with more the seamless experience across the device. I think this is the much better differentiator. So I actually use my phone, and when I stop watching something and I get home, I can just continually seamlessly. And there's another session today about automotive and in-car entertainment. This is another touch point of a customer experience for entertainment in the future. And the question is right now also, okay, how are you going to continue your entertainment journey when you go outside and actually enter a car, a bus, a taxi? And I think there are many ways you can differentiate in the future still. Content will be very hard and very expensive. Yeah? So on the experience side, it's not so much about the feature, I think. It's much more about how you create the content, how you know your customer, work with your local partners to really bring the relevant content, because then the big tech giants and platforms will not be able to follow you because they have to scale on a global level, and you have the much closer relationship with your individual customers. So if you focus on that, I think you will always have enough differentiation in general. And I think there are, of course, features. We saw in the pandemic, co-watching, shared experiences, but you see how fast everybody can adapt and develop the same. So it's also a very short time where you can differentiate. So I would rather invest in long-term relationship with your customer, listen to their problems, and bring the solutions they are looking for and support them end to end, and not just give them the subscription and the app and say, hey, you can use it and pay monthly for it.
And maybe to you, Jackie, because given Google have sort of lots of experience in multiple areas, do you see that you can contribute with something that the operators can take for that second screen experience that Pierre is talking about, and make that easy accessible?
Yeah, I think there is a lot of innovation in that space, and as I say, with like this functionality around Cast, there's a lot of Bluetooth-enabled functionality as well, which could come into the forefront. Yeah, I completely agree with you that we need to be able to give value to the customer beyond just the subscription. There has to be, in a world where there are so many devices per household, there needs to be a way to be able to enable users to pause and resume across devices and generate excitement through innovation and through more use cases beyond just pure lean-back experiences.
And Daniel, with your sort of very diverse footprint, I guess there's a difference and a challenge as well, that you have different access to content, but you have also different sort of revenue and money to spend on TV in different markets. How does that influence sort of the decision of streamlining?
Well, as I commented in the previous panel, one thing that we see is if we are looking at customer in the same developed area, like we are in Europe, in terms of features and in terms of services, we see that we can develop the same product, okay, and this is what we are doing. But obviously, in every country, on top of having the same product, we need to do some kind of customization in terms of local contents, pricing, bundling, of this kind of thing. No?
Yeah. And so moving on to sort of the future and what's going to happen in the future when we look at this, do you see sort of billing integration and that full environment that Pierre is talking about? How do you see, Daniel and Ingmar, how do you see that sort of evolve?
Okay, well, I think that from the telco point of view, our value is not only is the billing integration, that is a piece of the ecosystem. I think the most important that the telco offer to the customer is, they trust in us for all their digital life, for all their communication. So our proposal is an integrated proposal where we offer the connectivity, we offer the entertainment, and all of this with a quality of experience, with end-to-end support in case of anything happen. Also, our customer trust in us, because for us, the data privacy is important. They know that we don't sell their data, that their data with us are not exposed. And on top of this, we have the billing integration. They trust on us for paying their bill. So we think that is the best proposal to the customer to offer everything integrated.
I can only underline, we are a trusted entity for decades in paying services.
Yeah.
We're not reduced to being a dumb pipe because we're creating services and providing support. Try to call an OTT operator, the support ends with an FAQ or with an automated assistant. In that sense, we are a negotiation partner for all these OTT services coming up and OTT catered entertainments. And we have drawn the fine line, it's growing and growing. To market to our customers, to reach them, to build them, and do conjoint marketing promotions.
Yeah.
So new partnerships coming along, it's not just reduced of being somebody's printing entity amount X on bill that.
Yeah, and I think we've been around this a few times on sort of the set-top box and that we sort of the need for a set-top box to be around for a number of years. And we heard Sky saying yesterday that there's still going to be a satellite offering because there's space for both and there's a room and a place for both of them. How important is that battle for HDMI 1 that we sort of that we used to talk a lot about? Is that still relevant?
We this time? Okay. HDMI battle will get more intense and more intense. We saw what Samsung is now doing. It's not presenting the HDMI source, it's presenting and catering its own reach for the customer. And of course, smart TVs are no longer dumb monitors. We expect them to evolve. We expect them to be even a platform where we can work on. So a set-top box highly depends on being on the present HDMI. But again, it's not a single way choice. There's partnerships and there's conjoint effort.
And are we even discussing, I remember a few years back we discussed whether it was a Linux-based, if it was an Android-based or an RDK. Are we even discussing that anymore, Daniel?
Yes. Well, I think, as I said before, like an engineer, when you do a project of set-top box with Linux, for me it has been one of the best experience, to working with our friend from the cast, the chipset. This is a very complex technical project. You can do great things, but with all the shift of the content to the direct-to-consumer application, if you have to integrate only one or two, still you can manage a Linux approach. But to be honest, with the situation that there is today, with many direct-to-consumer apps, new ones are coming, others will be out. I think manage a Linux-based proprietary solution is not more an option for the operators. And we need to think in platforms that give us a scale to be able to get the direct-to-consumer apps as fast as we can, but also to give a scale to the newcomers that are in the direct-to-consumer, because for them it's also a huge investment to create the native application. So for me, RDK and Android TV are two very good options in terms of scale for doing that. No?
And what, maybe there's a question to you, Jackie, or maybe to the others. What happens sort of when Google take over the world in this? And everybody's going to run Google on their environment.
Well, I don't think there'll be a day when everyone will run Google on their environment, but yes, I think as mentioned before, like we live and die by partnerships. That's the core part of our business, and that respect that we have for the partners that we work with. And we are always try to stay nimble in terms of the way that the product supports partners. So as the needs of the industry change, we try to accommodate that. We've done that a few times recently through introducing a common broadcast stack, for example, to bring more standardization into the OS. We've done a lot of work on performance maintenance, so making sure that we can optimize performance even on lower cost devices to try and help bring down the cost of the BOM cost of devices. And that, if you watched I/O, you'll see there's a lot of updates in Android 13 around power consumption mode and bandwidth consumption and improvements there. So we're always trying to accommodate the needs of partners. So as long as we can do that and we're bringing a good symbiotic value exchange, I think it makes sense. That's what we're invested in doing for the long term.
So happy take over as long as you do it together.
A symbiotic relationship, I think, is the key point. The key point there, value exchange.
So recent years, and you mentioned this, Ingmar, when you spoke to John earlier, that Apple has sort of come to the table now, and they may be a bit late with sort of operator integrations, but seems to be working more towards flexible solutions.
When I look at the history of Apple, Apple just seems to have a very, very long breath. But they're getting into the game, and I don't want to employ the cell phone comparison, but in long term, we will see a consolidation when it comes to the OS layers, where those experiences are catered on top. And I like a particular person to follow up on LinkedIn, Magnus Svensson. He once cited that consolidation as standing on top of the shoulders of giants, which enable you to see further than you would do by your own self. Cited by Isaac Newton, and I like this comparison because we're going to see this, and as we heard, it's going to be about symbiosis and partnerships for the partners involved.
Yeah, and Marco, sort of fighting with Google and Apple for the operators' benefit. How do you see that Vewed can play a difference in that?
Yeah, I think as we heard also earlier, it's all about like modularity and flexibility, because of course on one side it is true, I totally agree that it's not viable for an operator to build a completely custom Linux set-top box operating system, because a lot of the innovation is not happening there. So there are components, there are validated components that should be reused. But from that extreme all the way on the other side, where you get a sort of semi-closed platform which works out of the box but has a lot of constraints, that's also not optimal. So every operator has to find the right balance of flexibility, control, and modularity. And I think, of course, using Apple or Google TV is more on the side of getting something which is well put together and ready with some constraints, while some operators prefer to go more on the other side to get a more modular solution, still based on standards such as RDK or open source components, but that give them the possibility to put them together in a different way and have more flexibility in the integration and also in the implementation of the UX. Without any sort of external requirement.
And let's start with you, Ingmar, but I'd like to hear sort of all five of you, your opinion on sort of, do operators sort of need their own platform? Do they have time? Do they have money? Can it be justified to continue building your own environment compared to just taking off the shelf from what's available?
So we started already with the question on differentiation. If we no longer have our own platform or a way to differentiate just by copy-pasting what is as a blueprint out there, we have a problem in selling our proposition in the market, and it just comes down to the deals you're able to do content-wise or other points on differentiation. For that reason, it needs to be well refined how long you keep your own platform and maintaining it and differentiating, or once you go to the mainstream and adapt.
And you, Daniel?
Well, I totally agree. I think that you need your own platform in terms of getting the control and the possibility of differentiation. But here there is always the dilemma between how much you can do, how much control do you want to have versus the scale, because as I said before, you need a scale in some components, because in other way you will not be able to join the speed of the market. So I think the important thing is in the areas that you need to scale, go for something that give you that scale, like in the case of Android TV for the set-top box. In the case of other pieces of the ecosystem, invest in your in-house solution in those pieces that are more connected with the user experience and that can deliver you the differentiation. No?
Jackie?
So, you know, the TV is definitely the center of the home and being the big screen in the house, and operators are so fundamentally important to that screen. So I agree, set-top boxes, you know, are here to stay for the foreseeable, and it's such a prominent part of your offering. Yeah, I also see the value in expanding that portfolio outwards to other devices to encourage newer next-gen users, for example, who aren't used to that type of pay TV environment, or, you know, enabling consumption of your content through other platforms. So definitely a mixture, but the answer is still true that operators fundamentally need to own that relationship with their customer.
Yeah, so I think we have to see that you have to in the future deliver value faster, and you need to innovate faster. So whatever platform choice you do, you need to build it in a way that you have an ecosystem of partners that allow the partners to also make business and scale their own products, and you get all the benefits from that scaling of your partners in your ecosystem, but you have enough control to differentiate, maybe on the UI, maybe on your content, maybe on your offering. But if you make it too much in-house, you will not have this innovation from the ecosystem. So you have to integrate it in a way that it's not so tightly coupled that you have a customized solution that you have to always, you cannot benefit from the roadmap of your partners. And I think this is the complex thing, because we have so many different components still. It's getting less. But if you get that right, then you also are not only bringing a product out that is helping you differentiate today, it helps you also to be ready for what's next, because your partners bring new things to the table that allow you then to scale or add on top of what you did, even though you didn't have it in your business plan earlier. And I think this is a technology challenge, it's a business strategy challenge, a product challenge. But if you get that right, I think you're also ready for what's next. And that's the main message.
Yeah. Marco?
Yeah, just picking up on this point, I think it's hard to predict the future and see what platforms will be successful tomorrow. So what we try to do, for instance, is to make sure that the components that we provide are able to work on different operating systems, different platforms, different system on chips, so that the operator can decide how to put them together in a flexible way, so that, okay, they have to make a choice, of course, today, but they are not locked into that choice if 2-3 years down the line something else comes up. So I think that's key for all of us in the vendor space.
Thank you very much, and to the audience, apologies for that. We are running 10 minutes late, but I hope you feel that a late lunch was worth the effort of listening to this. But please give a big round of applause to the audience.